Okay, so about 12 months ago I built this live edged dog bowl holder inspired by a project that Matt Cremona did, where he took a slab with a very similar live edge and made it into a bench. Now the offcut that I had was nowhere near big enough for that sort of a project, so again, inspired by Matt, I turned it into a dog bowl holder that's been sat in our house for quite a while. Way before I got into wood turning, I kept the centres, thinking they look quite decorative and may come in at a future date. So what the plan for this week's video is to turn these into a live edged bowl. They're only about 5 inches in diameter, so it's not going to be massive. They're not very deep, probably at the maximum they're 2 inches, so it's going to be quite shallow. And a little interesting project. Okay, so first things first, we're going to mark the centre out on the top of this, and because it's a live edge, it's an uneven edge, we're going to have to be a little bit creative. So I'm going to use a marking knife and the Axminster centre finder. Get these jaws opened and get the woodworm screws seated in. Okay, before we start turning, I would just like to share my bit of information that I've learned this week. I was under the impression the roughing gouge, by its name, was designed to turn any piece of wood from square stock to a bowl blank like this to round, and to make it perfectly cylindrical. However, that is not the case. When you are turning bowls to round, a roughing gouge is not the tool to be used. The problem is the grain orientation, because the grain in this will run like this across the bed of the vehicle. So as it's spinning, you're going to get long grain and then you're going to get cross grain. So as you're taking shavings, it's going to alternate between the two. Now the tang, which is the piece that's hidden underneath the handle, is not very long in a roughing gouge, and due to the stresses you're going to be putting on it, may not stand up to this and catch and flick back and possibly cause an injury. So for that instance, I apologise. In last week's video it worked for me, but that's not to say it works for you. So the correct tool, as the name would suggest, is a bowl gouge. Now this is quite a steep and sturdy tool, quite a nice deep bit of support underneath the flute. You can see it's quite shallow there. I don't know if you can sort of see that, but it's quite sturdy, and the tang goes down a long way into the handle, so we'll take the extra forces that you put on it when you're turning it round. So please take that into mind when you're doing this. And I'm now going to put on my helmet and my face mask, and I'm going to start turning this to round. If you can turn the angle of the camera a little bit there. Right, I've tried to give it a bit of a winged effect at the top. Obviously not so much at the bottom, but a nice little winged effect there. So now let's get the bottom flattened and a mortise ready for the to put into the actual 4-jaw chuck itself. Okay, so this week I want to show a different method of making a mortise to fit onto the 4-jaw chuck. What we're going to do is I've set a compass to half the diameter of the 4-jaw chuck, which is 50mm. So I've set this at 2.5 centimeters, which will give me a 5 centimeter circle. Okay, so I think it's now time to apply some more of the Liberon sanding sealer. After speaking with Paul Lockwood, I'll leave a link to Paul's channel below. He's been amazingly supportive and very helpful with information and helping me get on the right track. So thank you very much for your assistance, Paul, and for your patience. Paul said no, kitchen roll is better to be used than t-shirts. Especially as it's coming towards winter. So let's get some of this on and see what the grain looks like. And apparently, despite the instructions, this sanding sealer should only take about a minute or so to dry. Now I don't know how true that is, but obviously it's good to listen to your peers. So let's just apply this quite liberally. It's looking very illuminescent already. So let's just chuck a bit more in the middle there. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, leave that for a minute. Okay, a little bit excited now. That's now soft as the proverbial baby's bum, and I'm quite happy with this shape. May not be to everyone's cup of tea, but I quite like that. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram know that I went and bought some Hampshire Sheen microfine crystals. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to apply that and let it dry. So from what I can read, we just apply it quite liberally over the piece. I'm going to leave that a few minutes, let it dry, and then we can buff it up to a high sheen. Yep, I think that sort of says it all, don't it? See the light shining off that piece there? Wow. Yeah, look at that. Gotta say, had a little panic then just in case I hadn't made the hole big enough. Right, let's get this sanded. Good start at 150 grit. Just being mindful of the undulations here because the wings may clip our fingers, and whilst it looks very decorative, let's not be fooled into not thinking that this will actually hurt if it clips our fingers. So take our precautions and let's get this sorted. fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Okay, sanding sealer time. How about that? Beautiful little love heart in the bottom of this bowl. Wow. Let's get the air gun on this. Give it a bit of a blast to get rid of some of the sanding remnants from inside the bark, and then let's get some Hampshire sheen on it. Well, I think you'll all agree, guys, this is a beautiful little piece. It's got a nice little winged effect, and also quite deep, probably only be able to use as a coin tray, maybe something that will sit on your bedside table. Look at the little heart at the bottom of that. I think I may go and give this to the good lady.